This is a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station.
8:36 a.m. You're listening to The Morning Run. I'm Shazana Mokhtar with Wong, Shou, Ning and Keith Kam. In half an hour, we have the opening bell where we check out how Bursa Malaysia begins the trading day. But before that, let's talk about what's brewing in DAP and MIC, both component parties under the Madani government. Starting with the Rocket Party at the Penang DAP convention on Sunday, Party Secretary General Anthony Loke shot down rumours of a plot to topple the Penang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow. Loke also tasked Chow with training a successor for the next elections, as the latter is in his second and final term as Chief Minister.
Speculation has been rife over ongoing internal plots to remove Chow from his post, which he alluded to in October. These allegations were criticised by DAP chairperson Lim Guan Eng as unfounded. Chow reportedly later backtracked from these claims.
Separately, MIC also convened over the weekend for its 77th General Assembly, where Deputy President Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said that the party will not hesitate to take action if it does not receive recognition from this federal unity government. The party also unanimously passed two resolutions, one of which is to back a royal pardon for jailed former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak.
So what does the outcome of their respective conventions mean for the two parties moving forward? For some thoughts on this, we have on the line with us Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at the University of Tasmania. James, good morning. Thanks as always for joining us. Let's start off with what's happening in DAP. So the Secgen Anthony Loke has quashed rumours of a move to oust Penang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow. Now, the saying is that there's no smoke without fire, especially in politics. What does this suggest?
Right. What it suggests to me is that the moves to topple Chow has sort of gone away. I think it was quite clear that there were some movements in Penang DAP to remove him as the chief minister. But I think what happened since the election is that both sides have come to some sort of a deal. So it looks like going forward, Chow will serve out his full 5-year term unless something happens at the federal level.
James, do we know why there was such a move against Chow Kon Yeow?
Look, the problem with successful parties like DAP is that basically they've got more talent than they need. So there's always a need to push the top talent upwards. So I'm not surprised that you always have people trying to get the seat of the Penang Chief Minister. As you know, the Penang Chief Minister's post is unique in the Malaysian system. It is the only state where an ethnic Chinese or a non-Muslim Bumiputera is allowed to be the chief minister. So there's always been a lot of pressure on that position. If you remember back then when Gerakan was holding that position, there were also a lot of moves to remove the Gerakan chief minister after one term. So I'm not surprised that there were moves. This is part and parcel of party politics. But I think it is quite clear that the DAP has sort of come to their senses. There won't be any moves against Chow, at least not for the foreseeable future, now that Anthony Loke has announced that he will stay on until the next general elections.
James, having more talent than they need, that's a good problem, right? And then with Chow Kon Yeow in his final term as CM, who do you think? I mean, it will be their choice as to who can succeed him, right? Who do you think would be the front runners?
I think it's too late to try to second guess. Very often in Malaysian politics, if you look at the history of succession in Malaysia, very often towards the last year, some dark horses will appear. So I think it is not possible to second guess who will come out. For example, it could be outsider. So the last time they tried to remove him before the state election, my understanding is that the candidate who was supposed to replace him was actually working at the federal level. They wanted to push him back to the state level to take over the chief ministership.
All right. Can we take a look at another angle for DAP? And this comes from revelations from former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who said that he only used DAP to topple his rival Datuk Sri Najib Razak in 2018. Is there a perennial risk that DAP will face this regardless of the coalition it belongs to? It's always going to be used for that purpose, do you think?
Well, I think we need to step back and do a reality check. I think in Malaysian politics, everybody uses everybody. So, so let's get real, okay? So it is true what Mahathir said, but it is true on the other side, that during the Barisan Nasional days, Mahathir was using all the component parties to screw the opposition. So I think we need to take a step back. But what is clear is that Mahathir is trying to repackage himself, trying to make himself useful again, so that he can basically dethrone Anwar Ibrahim now. I think it's important to remember that this guy has a very strong track record. If you look back historically, he got rid of Tunku Abdul Rahman. He got rid of Najib Razak. He got rid of Patla. So he got rid of a lot of people. So I think we have to take what he's doing seriously.
Do you think he's going to be successful again?
I think the only thing holding him back will be the biological clock.
Okay, let's turn our attention to MIC. They just concluded their General Assembly where their only Member of Parliament, Deputy President Datuk Sri M. Saravanan, warned that the party's support cannot be taken for granted as they have an alternative course of action. His words, not mine. So what options do they actually have?
Look, the MIC and MCA are in a very difficult position now. Because, as you know, they are part of the Barisan Nasional, but UMNO has sort of abandoned them inside the coalition. So you can see, for example, UMNO didn't really want to give any seats to MIC or MCA during the recent state elections. My understanding is that this is understandable because UMNO is trying to rebuild itself. People don't understand that the decline of UMNO has been with us for almost 4 or 5 general elections. So if you start looking back, right, from 2008 onwards, the general election, right, the number of seats and the number of popular votes that UMNO has been getting has been declining in every general election. So I'm not surprised that Zahid, whose head is on the chopping block, so I'm not surprised that he's concentrating on trying to rebuild UMNO, even at the expense of MIC and MCA. So it's really a situation where MIC, MCA has to show that they're able to survive on their own 2 feet. Even though they're part of the government, they're not really given anything there. It's really a matter of trying to show that they're still relevant. They can still capture some votes among the Chinese and the Indians. If they can't do that, I suspect they will probably, end up in what we Malaysians call mosquito party in the 2 or 3 general elections from now.
Is there any gauge of how much support MIC currently has with the Indian community? I mean, could they not already be seen as a mosquito party of sorts?
They have been getting some votes. The good news for the MIC is that it looks like, based on anecdotal evidence, their support has been going up especially last year. But basically, the majority of the Indian voting population in Malaysia, they've been giving their votes number 1 to PKR, secondly to DAP. So MIC is sort of number 3 or number 4 in terms of the voting preference. But of course, things can change very quickly. Normally, what will happen is that if something big happens, then there'll be a realignment again. So it's a question of whether they'll be given any seats in the next general elections and whether they are in a position to sort of force things through via Barisan Nasional, i.e. if they can get things done through Zahid.
James, MIC passed a resolution backing a royal pardon for PM Najib Razak, former PM Najib Razak. The question is why?
I want to know as well because it's really, really crazy stuff, right? I mean, look, they are not the only one. UMNO has done it. So now, they get onto the bandwagon. I think this is all part of the larger picture, sort of trying to send a signal out that Najib is still very influential. Whether it will happen or not, we have to wait and see. Again, all this sort of stuff we are talking about, right, will basically depend on, the political climate in the next 12 months. Because essentially what we're talking about is the survival of the Anwar Ibrahim administration. If he can't get his act together in the next 12 months, there's even a possibility that his government may fall before GE16.
All right, James, thanks for speaking with us. That was Dr. James Chin, Professor of Asian Studies at University of Tasmania, ending on a rather somber note, really, in terms of the political prognosis moving forward. It's never really over, right? There's always another mountain or speed bump to look ahead to.
Actually, Yeah, it's challenging times for Malaysia and the clock is really ticking, which is why actually on Wednesday and Friday, we will be reviewing the 1-year anniversary of Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim as our Prime Minister. So on Wednesday, we start with an economic review. Then on Friday, we follow that with a political review. So do tune in. There'll be some very interesting panel conversations.
All right, it's 8:46 in the morning. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll come back to discuss potential reforms for JCOM, or more formally known as the Community Communications Department. Stay tuned, BFM 89.9.
You have been listening to a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station. For more stories of the same kind, download the BFM app.